The dust settled behind them, marking the end of one chapter. But the road ahead stretched into an even greater unknown. Abraham had answered the call, left Ur and then Haran. Now, with every weary step, he was walking towards a destiny only God could see. Imagine the relentless sun beating down on the caravan. Day after day, week after week, Abraham, his beloved Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all their household pressed onward. They had left the relative comfort of Haran, a city they had paused in, believing it was part of God's plan, only to hear the call once more. Go from your country to the land I will show you. Their lives were now defined by movement, by the constant breaking and setting up of camp, by the uncertainty of the next watering hole, the next patch of grazing land. Each sunrise brought new miles, new challenges, new tests of endurance. They were a people without a permanent home, driven solely by a divine promise and the unwavering faith of one man. It was a journey not just across lands, but across the threshold of human understanding into the heart of God's purpose. Finally, after countless miles, after enduring the hardships of the wilderness, they reached a land called Canaan. But this was no welcoming paradise. It was a land already inhabited by the Canaanites. Abraham, the recipient of God's grand promise, arrived not as a conqueror but as a sojourner, a stranger in a territory he was told would one day belong to his descendants. He owned nothing but his tents and his livestock. The promise felt distant, almost ironic, as he looked out upon cities and settlements belonging to others. How could this be his land? How would he, an outsider, ever claim it? This was not the immediate inheritance he might have envisioned, but a silent declaration of faith in a future yet to unfold. And yet, in the midst of this foreign land, Abraham's response was profound and immediate. As soon as he arrived in Shechem, near the sacred tree of Moreh, the Lord appeared to him and reaffirmed the promise. To your offspring I will give this land. Abraham's reply was not doubt or despair, but devotion. He built an altar to the Lord right there. It was his first act of claiming the land, not with a sword, but with worship. He then moved on, pitching his tent between Bethel and Ai, and there too he built an altar and called on the name of the Lord. These altars were more than piles of stone. They were markers of his faith, declarations of ownership, not in a physical sense, but in a spiritual one. Each altar was a covenant point, a place where the unseen God met his chosen servant, reinforcing a promise that seemed impossibly grand. It was Abraham's way of saying, I am here, God, and I believe you. For years, Abraham lived this nomadic life, moving from one pasturage to another, always with his tents, his flocks, and his family. This itinerant existence was a constant, tangible reminder of his dependence on God. There was no permanence in the world around him, only the unwavering certainty of God's word. Each sunrise brought not a fixed home, but a continued journey. Each starry night sky was a vast canvas against which God's promises of countless descendants felt both immense and far off. Yet, with every altar built, with every prayer uttered under the open sky, Abraham deepened his relationship with the one who called him. He was learning to live by faith, day by day, step by step, in a land that was his, yet not his. Abraham's first steps into the promised land teach us a profound lesson. Trusting God's guidance means moving forward even when the path is unclear, even when the destination feels distant, and even when you feel like a stranger in your own future. His altars stand as eternal testaments to a faith that declares God's presence and promise, long before the evidence is seen. What altars are you building in your life to declare your trust in God's unseen plan? Ponder that as we prepare for Abraham's next challenge. Don't miss Episode 3, Testing Ground, Egypt's Shadow, where Abraham faces a severe famine and a dangerous test of his faith. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to follow Abraham's epic story of faith. See you next time.